Right, I'm good to go.
All right. I hate doing intros on videos.
I
It's
hate
so
doing intros
awkward and
as well.
difficult.
If you just hit recorded, you should have just hit recorded while we were saying we hate doing intros.
All right. Hello, everybody. We're doing a 40k faction tier list today with Dave from Blisterminis. Right. What have you put in D first?
The first D tier is Adeptus Mechanicus.
Okay.
I have no desire to collect them. I think they're cool lore-wise, but it's mainly around cool I like. I don't really like anything else outside of cool, or at least I'm not that interested in it. I should say there's no 40k factions I don't like. But it's like, with the AdMech, the models just, they're so busy. Like, I'd love to fight an AdMech army. I have no desire to try and paint them or collect them.
That makes sense.
Because it's just so busy. So yeah, that's like my first one. This is what I was saying. I was like, a lot of it's desire based.
Mine are based entirely on what I decided to base them on at the time of going through each one. So there's no standard that's being held to. Some of them it's the models, some of them it's the lore, some of it's the range.
You've got no focal point. Mine is just a nebulous concept of desire.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Okay. So my first army on D tier is Chaos Demons. I don't like the overall look and theme of the army. Like, I know that it's a good one because it's available in Sigmar as well. It works in both.
They fit in better. The lore's better for kind of fantasy age of Sigmar. So I get that 100%.
Models on the tabletop, I think they just haven't aged well for me. There's always like old classic sculpts and it's like, oh, I love that because it's old. But demons I don't like because they're old.
Next one, it's Tau. And
okay.
The big reason for Tau is I don't think the current Tau range lives up to their potential, and I think it's a travesty. They've got the cool tech stuff right? But where's our new Vespids? We got the new Kroot squad, fair enough. Where's the human auxiliary kit?
Yeah.
You know, where's the rules for like all these other alien races that they have? You know, the idea of Tau being like a Xenos alliance with a central kind of species in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
They've got the central species, but they don't have all the auxiliaries. Okay.
Exactly. It's down to the person playing to substitute them. The other thing as well is they updated the range, but I think they didn't. Obviously, I know this was a while ago, but I don't think they updated the crisis enough. Like, I know they're new models, but they still got like kind of a box.
I forget that they're new models. They do look almost exactly the same. My second faction in D tier is Gene Stealer cults. I just think they're boring. I feel like it's like making an army of chaos cultists. I feel like all they do in the lore is what cultists do, but not as interesting. And I got no sympathy for them getting turned into soup at the end either. Like, I don't care.
No, that's fair. So, next one I've got, I don't think this is controversial.
Okay.
And I'm realizing that more and more this isn't desire based, but it's Deathwatch. Lore's great. Lore's great. An army? I don't know. Maybe I'm like old school. To me, they were always like a cool unit you like subbed in as an ally. When I first got into them, they were going to do Codex Demon Hunters, Codex Witch Hunters, and Codex Xenos Hunters, or Alien Hunters, however you want to put it. And they only got 2 of them in. So Deathwatch were like a kind of a separate thing that you could kind of add in. And I was going to go look at the range, but I have to look at the new Warhammer site. So, yeah,
oh no.
We'll see how that goes. So yeah, looking at the Deathwatch range, first of all, it does suffer from something I generally don't like, but is unavoidable. All of our models are from Space Marines. You know, that's how it works. So you look, you're spraying Deathwatch and you just get a sea of blue. I don't know, they just don't have... Deathwatch to me just doesn't have enough personality for me to care about it as an army. It's a very cool idea, but just as an army, I'm just like, ugh. As a kill team, very cool. Hell, even Combat Patrol, right? Doing a Combat Patrol game with a Deathwatch versus something, very cool. But once you start getting into the 2,000 points of Deathwatch, I'm like, you know, the thought of that, my eyes glaze over a bit.
Okay. My next one is Thousand Suns. I really like the design, the kind of Egyptian design, all the scarab stuff I think is cool. I don't find their color scheme very interesting. And apart from Araman, I don't think they have any interesting characters. I don't care about Magnus at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not in the I hate Magnus camp, but I don't find him interesting, especially in the 40k universe where he's like, oh, I'm fractured into all these bits, and there's this one bit of me that's here that's evil because I don't have the good part of me anymore.
Oh,
I just think that's a stupid plot device for him because they're all automatons, they're all just walking armor. There is no personality to be had there. So
no, and I think as well, if I ever collected them, I do Horace tier. I do Horace scheme. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like
the red and gold.
I love the red and gold. Looks really cool. I would still like some Rubric Marines for my Black Legion army, but that's more because they're really good on the tabletop, and it would be fun to paint them in the Black Legion scheme.
Yeah.
I just want to put them in a Rhino and have them eject in front of a load of Termagants and just go. Brah! So we'll go with this one, and this is this next one is partially the fault of GW why it's so low.
Okay.
Space Wolves.
Okay.
And the reason being, Vikings with wolf iconography, very cool. Space Marine werewolves, a bit contrived.
I don't think this is a hot take at all.
I don't think it's a hot take at all.
I'm happy to reveal that my last in D tier is Space Wolves.
All right.
For the exact same reasoning.
It's a shame. And again, they're another one that I think is quite cool in Horus Heresy.
When I was 14, 15, and they had that initial refresh where they got all the new Firstborn kits, I bought that codex. I bought a couple of kits. I thought they were really cool. Now that I am a little bit older, a little more wise, I feel like, looking back at the naming conventions and the stylistic choices, not a fan. Is it cool to see Space Marines riding giant wolves? Yes.
Yeah.
But I think most people would agree, to be honest, that is the problem with them.
I think so. Like it's not that I don't like Space Wolves. I think Space Wolves are cool. They're a cool idea. It's more like the mishandling over time has meant they're lower and lower on my factions I care about. When I eventually get to Votann, I will just quickly say I think Votann have done the Norse in space much better. But I'll get to that when I get to them. So my last two in D tier, Sisters of Battle.
Okay.
One thing I will say before we go any further, they are not here because of anything to do with their models. Love their models. I'm looking at using them as the basis for some conversions in the future, maybe as well. Sister Repentia as a potential second Jackal unit, that kind of thing.
That would be very cool.
Right. Outside of that, I'm like, very cool units, very cool to I'd like to fight them, but it's just Imperium lore. I say that and I'm looking and there's still quite a few Imperial stuff to go. Again, this is very desire based. I don't have a desire to paint them or collect them or make them outside of maybe a good basis for a conversion. So yeah, that's why they're low down. But I know a lot of people will very much disagree with that.
I'm sure they will.
Like I said, there's no factions in 40k I don't like. I would never say I hate a faction. I would never say I wish a faction didn't exist.
Yeah, I'll run that as a disclaimer at the start of the video.
Yeah, but it's just a bit of fun. Last one is Grey Knights. For very similar reasons to Deathwatch, to be honest. My good friend Rich, who I play against, he runs Grey Knight army. I know you've got a friend who runs a Grey Knight army. They're very cool. They're very interesting. But for me, just something about an army just feels kind of off for me.
Yeah.
And that might just be how I grew up with 3rd edition. Where I'm just thinking, well, Grey Knights are something you take. It's like, oh, look at my Imperial Guard army. Oh, by the way, they've got Grey Knight Terminators. And you go, oh, fuck.
Yeah, you have that moment.
Another thing as well, and this is similar to Space Wolves, they need more love with their kit. I know a lot of Grey Knight players won't be happy if they get Primaris Grey Knights.
I don't think it would ever go that way.
I don't think it would, but I could see them getting Horacy era.
New abbreviation, I love
new
that.
abbreviation, Horacy era Firstborn size.
All I'm saying about Grey Knights is that there is a reason that there is such a massive market for 3D printed legs to make them taller.
Yes.
Like,
and another
Toby's just all the new Grey Knights he's just got a whole bunch of 3D printed legs to bring them all up to scale.
Side note, would you consider Grey Knight Space Marines?
I mean, they are.
Yeah. Well, then why are they in Armies of the Imperium on Warhammer.com and not in Space Marines? Another thing as well that I think a lot of Grey Knight players will get, they literally have 2 kits for their main people.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, Paladins and Terminators are 2 different types of Terminator, 1 kit. And then you've got
Strike
Purifiers,
squads, Purifiers,
Purgations, Interceptors, Strike Squads.
Yeah.
Are all 1 kit. So when you buy it, you end up with just loads of shit.
Extra heads, extra weapons.
Yeah. Maybe putting like a Purifier and an Interceptor on 1 kit, because that's your close combat ones, and then a Strike Squad and a Purgation onto one. Is it a Purgation?
Who knows? Another reason to not like Grey Knights. Confusing naming. Oh, man.
But yeah. So that's that with them. And the Baby Carrier, which actually isn't a con because I love it.
So that, I think, brings us nicely onto C tier. AdMech.
You're going to hate my C tier.
AdMech.
Anyway, AdMech.
I think AdMech are just a bit cooler in Heresy. The robots they've got, the idea of like AdMech warring amongst themselves and stuff. AdMech are one of those things where like they're technologically adventurous and they do all these different things. That should be represented in the models. There should be so much variety. I just feel like there isn't. Everything is just kind of focused around Skitarii. And then like there's just a couple of weird things like the Electro Priests and whatever. I think they are cool. I like the designs. There just isn't the variety that I feel like they should have.
Yeah, and then looking at the some of their Horace specific robots look nasty.
Yeah, man, they look so cool.
Oh my god, yeah, some of them look absolutely terrifying as well.
Which is what you want from like body horror, robo-organic cyborg. That's the word. That's why I've put them there.
I'll do one as well that is interesting.
Okay.
Thousand Suns are in C tier.
Okay.
For me, the main reason being I do actually like a lot of the model range. If I was going to make a Tzeentch army, I'd make Tzeentch Chaos Demons, and I would make them in Age of Sigmar. One thing I do like about them, which is probably the reason why they went kind of up a tier, is the Terminators. I really like that they're a nice bridge between kind of 30k and 40k stuff.
Yeah.
I like the fact that they're not too mutated. Like, I love mutations, but I actually really like the Thousand Suns look of being like
they've not fallen too far.
Yeah, they've not fallen too far, exactly. Now the next thing is Zangors.
Oh dear.
Why?
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. But
why is their combat patrol 20 Zangors and not just a unit of Marines, a unit of Terminators, and a Sorcerer?
Hey, it could be worse. I think the Death Guard one is 30 Poxwalkers.
Yeah. We'll get to Death Guard.
Okay. I'm gonna move this along and also say some things that you've already said. Sororitas. Like you said, the models are all new and absolutely beautiful. I think it's just I was going to say like the intense zeal, but I play Templars, so I can't really say that. I can't quite put my finger on it. They've got a lot of very, very good different units, but similar to the AdMech, they mostly look the same.
Yeah,
they're all
a sea of.
It's a sea of power armor with big shoulder pads.
See, now I'm on to new ones for me.
Okay. Is
there any that do you want to do any C tier that I've already talked about?
Yeah, I'll get one more out of the way, which is Grey Knights. I think that they're very cool. When they first came out, in 5th edition, was it? when they got their refresh. Yeah,
when they got their proper army. Yeah,
yeah. I thought they were very cool. I still think they're very cool. They just don't have enough variety yet. They need more options.
Like they're one of those ones you could rocket up for me.
Yeah, definitely.
With the right models.
And it's silly things this edition. Like they don't really have any proper anti-tank. And like strike squads, because they're all psychers, strike squad's psychic ability is sticky objectives, which intercessors have. And your cultists, did you say your cultists have it as well?
It gets better. The jackals have it as well.
Yeah, and it's just like, what's that about? Yeah. That's all I've really got to add.
That's fair.
So what's new?
So this is all the rest are new. I'll start with one that's not going to cause too many.
Okay.
Imperial Knights. Imperial Knights are great. They're mainly down in C tier because I don't want to collect Imperial armies that much. I don't want to collect an army of Imperial Knights. Yeah, they're very cool, but for me it's just like, all right. And again, if I was ever going to collect them, they'd be allied into some kind of army.
Yeah, that's fair. I would have a free blade.
So I actually think, like, literally the only issue is just they're an Imperial army, which lowers them anyway, and then I don't really want to collect them, which lowers them again.
Okay. Tyranids.
Okay.
They've got such great variety now, and they are really good on the tabletop. The new codex is good. I've played against them a couple of times. I don't like playing against Tyranids because they have everything. They have got movement, they've got shooting, fighting, psychic stuff.
Yeah,
they're
which has
very
always been
good.
their thing as well. It's like you can't get away from them.
Yeah, and I really like the sculpts. The Tyranids are in C for me. They're kind of like a victim of circumstance. In terms of, I started at B. B was like my baseline.
Same.
And unfortunately, Tyranid, I personally just wouldn't really want to collect them. So they've fallen down one tier. I actually really like them. They just aren't quite on the stuff that I've put in my baseline level on B tier.
Yeah. I was similar process here. Most things started in B. Unless I knew they might go down to C or A, or obviously my S plus. The first thing I did was drag my S plus choice in and then never touch that list again.
That's fair.
We ready for the controversy?
Yeah, go on.
We'll kick off with Necrons.
Oh,
they're very cool. I like the stories and the lore, but in terms of collecting them, I'm just not that interested in a sea of robotic automatons. I actually like it when people really texture paint them up. So you played Destiny, right?
Yes.
You know when you fight the ancient Vex, and they're like, is it Vex are they called?
Yeah, the robot.
Yeah, it's Vex, yeah.
Like golden
when you
robot
fight
things.
the ancient ones of them in like Vault of Glass, and like they're all aged and mossy and rusty, and just kind of covered in just detritus. That's how I like that type of archetype to be.
Okay.
And that's just not the route they're going. They're trying to represent this kind of ethereal nature to them. And for me, it's just not hitting.
That's
simple
fair.
as that. I also was a big fan of the super old models. And as much as I like the sleek design, I did like chunky Terminator dude going...
Yeah, I was about to. If this headphone cable wasn't so short, I was going to push my chair back and just like squat as wide as possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gently disappointed, but not too.
Oh,
much.
it gets worse.
Okay, I'm gonna hit a lot of people.
Oh no,
with Blood Angels.
Oh. So this is the tier where it's like, here's all of my friends' armies. Like fighting again.
You know the popular kid in school who everyone likes, and but they're just like a little bit gently up their own ass, and you're like, come on.
Oh my god, he's sanguineous.
That's what Blood Angels are to me. Like Space Marines, I like Space Marines obviously because I've got 2 Space Marine armies, but Blood Angels for me are just like they're a bit too noble. And yeah, they've got the whole Black Rage thing going on. That's fine, but that's like
won them a lot of brownie points for me. But we'll get to
that's out. Yeah, but that's out of their hands, you know. Like compared to other legions who like they've got dark shit going on. They're just invested in that. That's like their thing. These guys are just like, oh, we're so noble and wonderful, but we're suffering at our core. Oh no. Like,
oh, woe with me.
Literally.
I think this is a good segue. Speaking of insufferable Space Marine cunts, Dark Angels. I actually do like Dark Angels, and they are very much the one where, as I was adding stuff, I was just like, oh no, I'm gonna have to move them down. So they actually, at one point, they were in A tier when I was making.
Oh my god!
And then I was like, oh, but okay. One of the big reasons I have no desire to this has been compounded by you, by the way, Dom.
Okay.
First, Dark Angels were Richard's army.
Yeah.
We met, we started talking, and then I was like, okay, well now they're Richard and Dom's army, so they're off limits to me. And then because of that, they've just kind of fallen off my radar.
Okay.
And just dropped down and down. They're one of these and other ones where they could rocket up if that range comes out, and I just love it. When they get their range refresh, they could well be B tier with another army that I like. We've chatted about before, but yeah. So that's kind of my reasoning on them. The other thing I don't like for Dark Angels, which is a GW fault, is release a color guide. Just release a color guide.
Stern guard.
Not. And also, kill off Asmodai.
Yes. Oh my god. Ready yourself. Leagues of O10.
Oh, I get it.
The range is too small. And there are rumors that they're getting a whole bunch of new stuff this edition when their book comes out. Great. But at the moment, the range is too small and their combat potential. I like to have things that have a good mix, and they very much feel like a shooting army. Like with World Eaters, for example, they're brand new to the table, but we have so much background and so much knowledge about them. Votan are new to the table and kind of new to the lore. They don't have any characters. They've got that one guy who shares the pose as the generic guy, so it's like, is he really that important?
No, exactly. That's one of the reasons I'm going to proxy the store Carl in the anniversary Carl you can get when it's a store anniversary for him.
Yeah. So that's why they're in C for me.
So you done with C tier? You got one more?
I'm finished with C tier.
Done. Then I'll go through both of my ones really quickly so we can get to being nice about things. So next one is Death Guard for similar reasons with Thousand Suns. Why so many Poxwalkers?
Yeah.
Why not give them a combat patrol that's like Termies, 10 Poxwalkers, and a unit of Plague Marines? Like, why that? And I think a lot of the stuff for Death Guard as well, again, it's a lot of GW mishandling. Similar reason to my next one as well. It's just like the fact that you have to buy 2 boxes to make a full squad. What the fuck?
What do you mean? Oh, as in like a full squad of 10. Yeah.
And the last one, again, is another one that could rocket up. And I think you'll agree. I think you might not agree with where it is on my tier list, but I think you'll agree with my reasoning.
Okay.
It's Drakari.
Oh.
Where's half the range? Where's half the range?
Yeah.
Like, removing the range has just made me go like, there's like not a full army.
There's so many models that are missing because Finecast has been scrubbed out. There's so many named characters from 5th edition that don't exist because they never got models.
You know, I will be a bit of a hypocrite later on, by the way, just so you know.
Oh, yeah, no, there's definitely double standards in my tier list.
Oh, 100%.
For sure.
But, so yeah, that's why I wouldn't like C tier, because it's got your Necron army, your Dark Angels, your Death Guard, and your Drukari in. Then you have a small Necron force, potentially.
It's fairly large. Oh, God, yeah, 4. 4 of my armies.
So I ripped the band-aid off.
It's only Templars that you didn't put in C.
We're moving on to B tier then, I guess.
Yeah.
As you've just mentioned them, Black Templars. I really like the range of Black Templars. I see a lot of potential for me to use them in other things if I wanted.
Yeah.
Like, you know, for kind of word bearer-y type units, that kind of thing. And I think they're a really good model for how the Dark Angel range refresh could be done.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is like 3rd, 4th edition box art with Black Templars. Grew up with, loved it. You know,
it was very cool that they brought some of that stuff back. Gonna keep it to a theme then. Space Marines. Just generic Space
Before
Marines.
you go any further, that is one of my B tier options. So we can just, I will say that's in my B tier as well.
They're the poster boys for a reason. Like, generic Space Marines are boring. Yeah. They are, but they're also very cool. It's why they sell so well. They were the first thing I put into B tier because that was my baseline. It was like, this got me into the hobby. There's Space Marines I think are cooler. There's Space Marines I think aren't quite as cool. This is going to be my baseline. I'm going to judge everything else based on that.
Like, Space Marines got me in the store to make me find chaos.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and the other thing as well with Space Marines and why I actually think it's really important to have them in B tier is huge range, so much inspiration, even for other things, right? Like, if you're collecting any power armor stuff, you can see inspiration from it. But the other thing, if someone's getting into the hobby, there's a reason Space Marines are sold with the starter sets.
Yeah.
They're so easy to paint, and they're such a good test tool as well. Like, picking up a starter set just to get some paints and like 3 intercessors if you want to try a scheme isn't a bad idea in general. And you can get that starter set cheap all over the place as well. They're poster boys for a reason, like you said. For a similar reason to Space Marines. Orcs.
Okay.
Space Marines versus Orcs. As far as I'm concerned, that was the thing.
Classic matchup.
Right? That was the classic matchup for so many years, was you got the Space Marines fighting against a horde of insane greenskins that want to crump them.
Assault on Blackreach was around for such a long time when I first got into the hobby.
Yeah. And with the Orcs as well, they're one of these ones where they do have some dated stuff in their range, but they have such an iconic look.
It's aged pretty well.
It's one of the few where it works really well.
Yeah. I put Deathwatch in B.
Okay.
I do agree with the stuff that you said about them. I think they're on the same level of coolness as generic Space Marines. Like, the whole kill team vibe, the anti-Xenos thing, taking members from different like chapters. Just very cool, but not really cool enough to be any higher than generic Marines for me.
I think, again, with like a range refresh and a bit more stuff, I could see them crawling up a bit.
And some unique units, not just, oh, actually, if you want a kill team, you're going to have to buy 3 different boxes of Gravis to get the mixture of weapons that you want.
So stupid.
But I do think that in lore, they're cool.
Yeah. They're very important to the lore as well. You know shit's going down when the Deathwatch turn up. Yeah. Now, a lot of this is love for old models. It's Eldari.
Okay, I've also put Eldari here.
Okay. So they do need a range refresh.
Yeah.
But I really like their like old metal models.
Yeah.
And how alien they looked. And I really like a lot of its lore. I have no desire to collect an Eldari army, but I do like the lore and their importance within the setting.
Yeah, definitely.
One kit I absolutely love, though, is the Exarch character, where you basically get, hit a ton of shit from all the aspect warriors. Just make your like perfect aspect warrior.
The Autarch.
Is it the Autarch?
Yeah.
The Exarchs are just the leaders of the squad, aren't they?
Yeah.
The Autarch.
The Autarch is cool.
Where you're just like, here's just a ton of bits. Like, do you want to have a Warp Spider backpack with a Dark Reaper gun and a striking Scorpion sword? There you go.
Very reminiscent of like old Space Marine captains, where they were just like, here's every single weapon option. Go crazy.
Yeah. Autarch. Very good stuff.
I put them in at the same level as Space Marines just because they are a faction that I think I would eventually collect, but I have not put them higher because stuff that I would probably collect first is up there.
Yeah. Also, another thing in terms of model stuff, that new Avatar of Cain. Oh,
delicious.
What a model.
Very, very good.
It shows how the design is just timeless, because when they update the models, they don't change that much, and they're like, fuck.
Yeah, it's just more bigger, more detail. Nice.
Yeah. And the Morgan Ra model.
Yeah.
Oh. My lord.
To finish off B, I have Tau.
Fair enough.
I think, again, Tau, what they've got is super cool. I would eventually collect. probably a big factor has been listening through the Damocles books. Like, Tower just pretty cool, pretty down to earth. Whether or not ethereals are secretly all mind controlling, I don't even know if it matters, because the actual core concept behind the greater good is actually pretty chill. Like, does it really matter? I don't know.
Well, I think Farsight Enclaves is the closest you're going to get to being the good guys in 40k. Believes in the greater good and doesn't like the ethereal's pseudo mind control, brainwashing power, like nebulous power.
Based?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm going to lump two of my A's together. I was going to go straight into Tyranids and Genestealer cults just to get it out of the way.
Okay.
I really like the models. I really like the concept. I really like the idea of them being like this kind of rebellion that at first seems like a good thing, but then you realizing that actually it's a sign of like this horror, this eldritch horror that's coming to devour the planet. I just think the lore's really cool. I absolutely love the models. When I look at the Genestealer cult range, I'm like, oh fuck, I want aberrants. Oh, that rock grinder looks so cool. Oh my god, I could make a Rogal Dawn tank look all fucking weird and cool.
Yeah.
Like, there's that for me.
I didn't really think so much about the Imperial aspects of it that have been taken by the cults.
That's fair. Everything I've said about Genestealer cults applies to Tyranids in terms of like model range and stuff. The reason they're not in S tier is because I could not collect just Tyranids and I could not collect just Genestealer cults. I would have to collect both together.
Okay.
And that is just a thing I am not prepared to do.
One point I completely forgot to mention in why I rank the Tyranids quite low, why I put them in C tier. I feel like they've just written themselves into a hole with it. Like, they're just this endless swarm. And for the rest of the 40k setting, they're just going to be slowly making their way into the universe.
Like, they're never going to... There's no potential end for them.
Yeah, because you can't... They're going to come forever. You can't kill them off. No. And if there is a solution to kill them off, then that's the end of the faction. It's like, well, we've fucked it, lads.
Yeah, for me, it's just I love the concept. I love the bad guy. I love the bad guys.
Bad guys, okay.
The ones that are comically bad.
All right. A tier, I've put Chaos Knights.
Okay.
The concept, I agree with what you said. Like, I would never want an army of knights, but the concept of knights and the models are just really cool. And Chaos Knights, they just look fantastic on the table. That's most of what I've based it on, to be honest. There's not much more to it than that.
That's fair.
I'll do another one real quick.
Yeah.
Death Guard. I think that Death Guard are I think that the sculpts. See, this is the thing. I collect Death Guard because when I got back into it at the tail end of 8th, Dark Imperium was a box. I was like, cool, get me some Space Marines. I'll paint some Space Marines again. I'll sell off the Death Guard. And it was during lockdown, so I had a lot of time. I was like looking at the sculpts like, these are really nice. Oh my god, I wouldn't mind painting that one. Looking at the Lord of Contagion. And then that was it. Like, I painted one and I was like, oh my god, these are a joy to paint. They are so fun. There's so much detail. There's so much you can do with them. If you overspill color, it barely even matters.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah, exactly. Like, they're just so, like, they're not even one of my favorite factions to play. I don't like their play style. Their lore is like interesting because it's a tragic story, but they're hardly the best. But the models put them all the way up in A for me.
I would say as well, one of the reasons they're in C tier for me, same reason as Thousand Suns, I'd love to paint a Black Legion Plague Marine unit just to have in my army. Don't want a full army. I just want to do like a little Bringers of Decay thing. We'll jump on with one that we've already talked about, Blood Angels.
Okay.
If I was going to collect a Space Marine force, unless I had real inspiration for a generic force, I would probably go Blood Angels. The main reason being, I like their two extremes. I love the Sanguinary Guard models as is, but I'm excited for a reboot. I love that look of kind of the golden armor, angelic wings, contrasted with a bunch of frothing madmen in the Death Company. Like, for me, those things are so... I love that kind of duality of them. That, yeah, I think they're really cool. I still do agree with all the points why you don't like them lore-wise. For me, it is very much a, like, that would be a cool thing.
I do love the contrast between Death Company and, like, the noble, artistic artisans that the rest of the Blood Angels are. Definitely think it's really cool. I definitely like the models. I feel like of all the like named Space Marine chapters, they're the most Mary Sue-esque.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I get it. I think a lot of the complaints people have about Ultramarines, I think you can apply to Blood Angels as well. I think both of them are very, very Mary Sue-esque. The only difference is the Blood Angels got this whole tragic thing with it.
Yeah.
Where they have like the Black Rage and stuff. But other than that, yeah, they're both they're both very quintessential. Them and the Black Templars, those three, like Ultramarines, Blood Angels, Black Templars, very much form what I think of when I think Space Marines. Because I don't really think of Dark Angels when I think of Space Marines, to be honest with you, because they feel their own kind of thing.
That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah. But they're still in C2.
Yeah, fair. I have Imperial Guard.
I also have Imperial Guard.
Imperial Guard are
they're just little guys, Dom.
Oh, they're just little dudes. They're just doing their thing.
Guys.
There is so much, especially in lore. It's not quite made its way onto tabletop yet, but there is so much variety.
Oh yeah.
In culture, ways of playing them. And at the end of the day, it's like they are the most relatable faction because he's literally me.
Yeah. And like I absolutely love. I'm one of the few people. I know a lot of Guard players were put off who wanted a pure Cadian force and stuff. But I actually love this idea where they're like, well, when you field an Astra Militarum army, it's actually quite rare, for them to go, here is an army of Krieg.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it'll be like you're attaching to this force.
You'll take a regiment of Cadians. You'll take some Steel Legion, like a Kriegsman squad, and some Rough Riders.
Yeah.
There might be some catch and jungle fighters like lurking off doing their thing.
And if I was going to collect Imperial Guard, and this is actually the reason why they're in A tier, is I'd be looking at getting old models.
Okay.
And I would do stuff like, my Chimera squad, well, that's my Steel Legion or Talon.
Yes.
Right?
That would be super cool.
Attilian Rough Riders, well, their models are absolutely fantastic, so that's sorted. I wouldn't first Rough Rider models I wouldn't change to bikes. This latest sculpt, it's like, I want my kind of midfield like pushy unit. Okay, well, I'll get my Kriegsman for that. Right, I'll have my Kriegsman unit kitted out as my push army. What about my kind of sneaky get behind the back line army? Okay, well, Ogrins and Catachan, a match made in heaven.
Yeah,
right. You know, like I'd really build up my army around this kind of everything. Right. And then have that Lord Solar model in the middle being like, yes, I'm leading them.
And this is the thing. The old models are still fun. The new ones that they have done, like there's a lot that needs refreshing, but the new things are tasty.
Yeah, like the new Cadians. The other thing as well, another reason they're in A tier is the other option I'd have, a Traitor Guard army.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to have a Traitor Guard army.
Dark Tide has
used in all rules.
Definitely pushed me to liking just generic Imperial Guard and Traitor Guard so much more.
100%. That's my A tier done.
That brings me to my final for A tier then.
Final one, perfect.
Chaos Space Marines.
To be fair, it's less damaging than what I did to you.
Yeah, so shut up. If you take the fact that I put Space Marines at B tier, and I love Space Marines, Chaos Space Marines are just cooler. The Veterans of the Long War, the whole we survived the Crusade, and here we are now still doing our thing. So cool. And whether they're part of, a full legion or just a little Chaos War band just trying to make their own way in the galaxy, they're just interesting and cool. And the new sculpts that they've had, like that new Demon Prince, I really want one for my Death Guard. Even Abaddon, who isn't like super new, but still new, beautiful sculpt. I kind of want one at some point just to paint.
It's
the Possessed.
Oh,
the
man,
possessed.
It's all so good.
Oh, I just think they're neat.
I just think they're neat. I'll save my gushing for the inevitable
S+.
But...
Maybe. Okay.
Maybe.
All right. Do you want to start S because you've got one more than me?
Yeah, sure. So I'll start with we'll start one we've talked about before. Leagues of Votann. So for me, the S tier is very much stuff that I am or am going to collect, without a doubt.
Yeah.
That was the big deciding factor for stuff going from A to S for me. So Leagues of Votann, where the reason I've got one headphone out is I'm currently waiting for my combat patrol. So that'll tell you all you need to know about my one. Yeah, when I get that combat patrol, that'll be me starting the army. I've got the Warhammer Day model and a store anniversary model. Both the Votann ones good to go. I'm going to be using them for speed paint, all this kind of stuff. But I think for me, going back all the way back to Space Wars at like the start of this hour video, hour and 20 minutes ish, they do the Norse thing much better. Yeah. It's kind of how I want Space Vikings to be, with like the kind of the advanced armor with just the touches of the runes. What I really like is that your average guy just looks like a guy in power armor.
Yeah,
which Space Marines actually fail to do a lot of the time with all the ornaments that they have and the ornamentation. They look like a do in space armor to fight. And then it's the Carls and the bigger stuff and the more reverence ones that have like the etchings in and the wolf crest coming over and all this kind of stuff and like the detailing on the weaponry. I love the kind of space, like NASA punk vibe they've got. Yeah. And I'm going to be doing lunar bases for mine, so they're going to look like they're on the moon.
Okay. I have Necrons in S tier. This is one of my double standards where Thousand Suns, I'm like, they lack so much personality apart from the leadership. Necrons, they lack personality apart from the leadership, but the leadership has so much personality, and they are so fun. Like one of my favorite memes of all time is like Necrons in Necron books. And it's just like spooky skeletons dancing along and vibing, and then Necrons in Imperial Guard books, and it's just like eldritch horror of unimaginable origin. And like they do that contrast so well of like their technology is black magic, it's ridiculous, but they are at the same time just little old dudes just having a good time.
Yeah. Well, the leadership are anyway.
Yeah. They're just brilliant.
Get it.
And also so easy to paint. Easy to paint.
They just kept slipping down for me. Before I get to the obvious answer, I'm going to put Chaos Knights.
Okay.
For pretty much basically the opposite reasons why they're in the Imperial Knights are so low down. I have a desire for them, but I don't want an army, and I like that I don't have to have an army. If I buy a Chaos Knight, I can paint it however I want.
Yeah.
And it can go in either of my Chaos armies. That's just a very cool thing. And I'd love to paint up a named one as well. Like mentioning Necrons, I'd love to paint up the one that's covered in skin and congealed fat. And it had so much on it that it attracted a group of flayed ones who killed the Chaos cultists that were following it around and replaced them.
Oh my god!
So whenever it emerges,
never
there's a bunch of flayed ones. Yeah, it's. I'll get you the name for it.
That's amazing.
In the comments, say the name of it. Yeah, because they think it's a giant robot covered in flesh and blood.
Yeah,
flayed ones.
It's one of them.
They think it's their god.
He's literally the. So where you put Chaos Knights above Imperial Knights, I put Imperial Knights in S tier. Again, wouldn't want an army. A free blade would be really cool. But not even looking at Imperial Knights as I'm allied to Mars, or I'm working with the Guard or the Space Marine Legion. The basic like concept of them on a feudal world, being a small, super elite, like ridiculously elite force protecting the planet. I think that's pretty cool.
I agree completely with Imperial Knights. It's just I would get Chaos Knights.
Yeah.
So my next one is Chaos Demons.
Okay.
And the main reason being, I still agree with everything I said earlier. I think they're better in fantasy.
Yep.
They're here because I would like to ally some demons with stuff.
Yes.
I have the Khorne Demons Combat Patrol, and it's specifically for my World Eaters. I want to run a unit of Bloodletters. I want to run Flesh Hounds. I want to run a Bloodthirster in my larger army with it. Even though that would be like half my point cost if I took Angron as well. But it's mainly for the Khorne Demons and stuff. And then in an alternate reality where I collect Thousand Suns in place of World Eaters, I'd be putting them up there and talking about Tzeentch Demons.
I think the next one I'm about to say, I think you have.
Yeah.
Custodes.
For me, it's they're superheroes in a world of super soldiers. You know, they're like well-rounded individuals as well, which I find really interesting.
Yeah.
Like the fact that unlike Space Marines, I can actually picture them doing downtime. It's just all the little lore stuff and the models for me. Like the lore of like, they're such good soldiers that when their reflexes drop by like a millisecond, they retire and can effortlessly become a clandestine spy despite being 9.5 feet tall or whatever it is. It's just
so ridiculous.
So fucking good at everything, and they live 10 times longer than a Space Marine or something ridiculous than that. So they learn every aspect of war. You know, they swap between shield hosts as well. I do want the Sisters of Silence to break away from them.
Okay.
And have their own codex and have a similar rule with demons where a Sisters of Silence army can take a quarter of their point cost as Custodes and vice versa.
Yeah.
Just because Custodes and Sisters of Silence are separate in Horus Heresy, I believe. A downside with Custodes being, but it hasn't affected my tier thing, but it's worth mentioning. Half of their armies in Forge World, really.
Yeah.
And a lot of the gaps in their roster are Forge World filled. And you have more in S tier?
I got one more in S tier.
I have one more as well that won't surprise you, I'm sure.
Okay.
But you do yours.
Templars.
Hey.
Templars weren't quite enough for S+. They just have a vibe. Like,
yeah.
Without getting too far into S+. I've always loved Dark Angels. A lot for the aesthetic, a lot for the lore. Templars, like, I really enjoyed both. But then I played them in 9th edition. And they were just unbelievably fun to actually, from an actual gaming perspective. They were so fun to just be like, hey, I am just going to charge everything up the board as fast as possible, get into combat like an Orc player or a World Eaters player, but with an Imperial army. And it just ticked all the boxes for me. Re-rolling advances and charges as a core rule was just like, cool. So I can move all my infantry exactly where they need to be and get the advance to put them all out of line of sight.
Yeah.
So they're safe. And then next turn they will move through the ruins and then re-roll a charge, and then just everything could just charge everything. It was unbelievably good.
Anything else you want to say about Black Templars?
No, I'm happy.
All right. So
yeah,
World Eaters.
Yeah,
is my S tier. I love Chaos. We'll get on to more when I do my S+, but I'm sure you can all guess it by now. But World Eaters, I just love them to bits. I think that they're playing them again is so much fun. It's almost like I feel how Orc players feel, because I'm just like, oh, I've lost an objective. Well, that's an excuse to charge and fight again. The look on Rich's face when he shot my Berserkers and then they moved 5 inches towards him, and he was like, does that happen with every unit? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I was going to alpha strike then. I'm like, if you keep alpha striking them, they're probably going to be in combat with your Phobos intercessors. And then the other look on his face when it's like, my exalted move, 9 inches. And he's like, wait, your exalted move 9 inches?
So good.
Like, I think I can't remember. I think I won that match, but that was because it was 9th and we were on a smaller table, which puts me at a huge advantage with World Eaters. So I didn't really feel like a victory with that one. But it was so much fun to just have an army that I could, if I wanted, just get one of the like war sticks from like Napoleonic era and just move them up like a wooden block and be like, there you go.
Oh my god.
And then the first time I used Angron, he got into combat with the Nemesis Dread Knight, killed a unit of Paladins, and then wiped a unit of Grey Knights, basically. And the Angron model is like the first Demon Primarch where I've gone and really got. bit disappointed didn't get red butchers. I'm sure we'll get some when we get our next range update. They've got to get red butchers. Oh, the 8-bound models.
Tasty.
I want
some. I want some.
Oh, mate. My exalted ones are topless with no power pack, and it's fully sculpted underneath. So you can really make them stand out.
S is done.
S is done.
And you've got only one thing in S+.
Do you have one thing in S+?
I've got like 4 things in S+.
You've got 4 things in S+?
Yeah.
Damn, what haven't we spoken about?
Should I rattle through a couple of them real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, so no secret, Dark Angels.
Yeah.
They're just the coolest Space Marines. I did have my problem with the whole, we must chase the Fallen wherever we find them. Like, great backstory. Wish it wasn't the central element of 90% of their books. That was my only real issue with them. I love the color scheme. I love painting them. All the characters, apart from Asmodai, badass as hell. And then their kits from the 5th edition revamp still hold up for me. They still hold up beautifully. Like Black Knights,
like the Knights
stunning
and stuff.
Yeah, just so good.
Oh yeah.
Shall I do another one real quick?
Yeah.
World Eaters.
Yeah.
World Eaters are S+ for me because they're so fun. The scheme is just really great, stands out nicely on the tabletop. The new sculpts are beautiful. The play style, I think, just looks like a lot of fun. And they are an army that I would like to get an army at some point. Do you want to do one now, or should I rattle through my other 2 and then reveal yours?
It's up to you. Do you want to end on me gushing about the one that we all know it is?
Yeah, let's do that.
You do? Okay.
So S+, I've also got Orcs.
Hell yes.
Because it's just a quintessentially 40k faction. It's
like a nicer reasoning as to why they're B tier with Space Marines for me.
I don't think I would want an army of them. I don't know if I would enjoy painting them.
No.
But like World Eaters, Orc players have the most fun of anybody. Their rules are ridiculous. Their lore is ridiculous. They are just fun. Yeah. And at the heart of it, it's a gaming system. You want to have fun. And Orcs represent fun in 40k for me.
100%. It's like they roll 60 dice, 4 of them hit, and they go, yes!
Literally.
They're like, get in!
And then my final is Drukhari. Drukhari were my second love after Dark Angels. I knew that I wanted a Xenos faction when I started getting bored of Space Marines, years and years ago. And I remember saying to the guy in store, so I really like the look of Necrons, and I really like the look of Dark Eldar. I don't know, what do you think is more likely to get support first? Because at the time there wasn't much of either. And he pretty much laughed in my face. I was like, cool. But then, joke on him, a few months later, they revealed the Incubi and Mandrakes models. And I was just like, that's it.
The new ones, I'm assuming, right?
Incubi have been redone since, but it's basically just the same models in plastic instead of Finecast. When those Finecast models were revealed, I was just like, I have to have this. You've got one of the grandest empires ever, absolutely fucks everything up. And a bunch of them are just like, we're going to do the nobles thing and we're going to commit ourselves to just being as the best that we can be. And a bunch of them are just like, I don't know, man, let's go live with dinosaurs and shit somewhere. And then these guys are just like, hell no. I'm going to keep doing exactly what I've been doing for the last 20,000 years. I just love that. I love the plotting, the scheming. I love how much of an asshole every single Drukhari is.
And then with the Drukhari just adding to the lore, I love the fact that they carried on doing it, got worse, and then were like, actually, this fixes our problem. Because if we do it enough, the thing that's trying to kill us goes, all right, fair enough.
Literally, I just love them so much. I think they've got some of the best lore. I won't go into detail, but Vect's rise to power as detailed in the 5th edition codex. So good.
Such a wanker.
And like,
I love him.
Yeah, he got rid of competing Archon by basically just bringing a Salamander's strike cruiser into Comera through a portal vertically. This is the tower the Archon is in. This is his rival. The portal opens here, and the strike cruiser just. And it's just like, they are so extra. They're so fabulously over the top. I love them so much.
That's fair. So,
enough from me.
On to my final one. So, quick story before I reveal it.
Okay.
My sister shows me, however old I was, like Hybrid Theory. When did Hybrid Theory out?
Oh my God.
Hybrid Theory, so 2000. So I'm around 10, 11, probably, right? And then, I ask about other metal bands. She's like, oh, this one called Disturbed and stuff like this. And we go through some others, right? And then my friend had inherited a load of Warhammer from his friend. And I was like, we're playing with it and looking at it. I was like, oh, it's really cool. I'm going to go into the Warhammer store with my pocket money. At the same time, I also bought what I thought was a Lord of the Rings magazine called White Dwarf.
Yeah.
It was not. Only half of it was. So I had that. And then at the same time, my mate inherited the Warhammer. So it's like this kind of perfect storm. So I go, oh, they're really cool, like these ones. And I go into the store. I saw the codex and I went, that looks like a metal album. And it was the 3rd edition Codex Chaos Space Marines. And I immediately fell in love. I bought the models and then I went back with more pocket money or money I'd saved up and bought the codex as soon as I could. I remember looking through the codex in the store, all the artwork, all the like fluff, like, flesh metal abominations that grow guns out of their arms. And I just fell in love with Chaos Space Marines. And for that reason, the reason they're in S tier, S+ tier on their own is just, there's no other army that's ever going to compare to that for me. Each time I've come back to the hobby twice, I've just fallen in love with them every time. The Dark Vengeance box set, seeing the Chosen being like,
that was such a good box. I regret selling off my Chaos from that, but at the time, £60 was a lot of money. Can you imagine? Dark Vengeance, £60, ridiculous. Anyway, £60 was a lot of money, and I wanted to sell off half of it. So,
no, that's fair. I bought a box for myself, and I traded all my Dark Angels for more stuff. I also fell in love with Black Legion immediately. I love the old Abaddon model. I love the new Abaddon model. I love the lore around Abaddon. I love this idea that the Black Legion are so focused on the destruction of the Imperium that they think betrayed them, that they are willing to sell their souls just for a chance to get it. Like, I love the fact that Black Legion have no plan after the Imperium are gone. I love that singular purpose, and I love the scheme, and just love the army in general. And I always will, even when they only had one wound and died immediately for most of 9th.
Yeah, that was a dark time. I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Gross.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
That was fun.
One of your inaugural videos.
That was very fun. I don't know when this is going out exactly, and I don't know when your first video is going up, but there will be a link to your channel in the comments.
Okay. I'm hoping to get. I guess I'll do the promo thing. So, at Blisterminis everywhere except Instagram, where it's _ because Instagram.
Yeah.
So at Blisterminis _ there, but TikTok and YouTube is just at Blisterminis. Mainly doing. I think my plans are some Black Legion stuff, some Votann stuff. Mainly focusing on short form for now, but I want to do like a kind of here's how I'm going to paint my Votann type thing. That's the plan.
Keep an eye out for that. Amazing. We'll wrap
Thank you
there.
for having me.